Hello and welcome back to another Cambrian news and updates. My name is Paul, and as always, I'm with my colleague Joel Longbone. How are you doing today, Joel? You all right?
Hello, good. Yeah, I apologise if I cough and snot everywhere.
Yeah, we should call you Sniffles, actually.
Sniffles.
Yeah, you've had to work at home this week as well, haven't you?
I have. My little girl had a runny nose, a cough, and a high temperature. So the NHS said we should go and get a COVID test, which we did go and do on Monday, and we still haven't found out the results.
So you don't know whether, but you just look cold.
I think that's just my pasty skin, or pasty white boy, as somebody might have said earlier. Right, pulls off. Right, anyway, yeah, so it's been a good week, despite having to work from home. That's all good. The shop has been tidied, so apparently it's looking very good, which is good to hear. Now, whilst Paul's still doing that, Paul and I have been having a conversation about this and coming up with a different name to Cambrian News and Updates, because it's not just news and updates. We're doing interviews and product videos and things like that. So if anybody has any good ideas, put them in the comments. Now, that is to say, with a caveat, please don't come out with completely ridiculous ones. Otherwise, well, if they've got swearing, we might have to chicken squawk them out with an emoji, if that's even possible. But Paul loves the chicken squawk sound, don't you, Paul?
Yeah. Getting used to it now after Nick Livesey last week.
Yeah, exactly. So if you've got any ideas, pop them in the comments. That'd be great. So yeah, we just want to come up with a different name, and we just thought it'd be Cambrian McCamera Face. Oh dear. PJ reviews. Okay, yeah. Now, all right, we should also say you're not allowed to use the words Ant and Deck or the bearded ones. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to have enough of Ant and Deck in North Wales at the moment.
So I know, anyway, yeah. So, that's quite good for North Wales. Great Castle. Yeah. It's going to be used for I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And they're going to be called the King or Queen of the Castle rather than King or Queen of the Jungle. So that'll be interesting.
Very nice.
So, yeah. What else was I going to say? Oh, on another separate note, been working on some ideas for Cambrian t-shirts. Now, is this something that you guys would like to be able to buy on our website, Cambrian t-shirts? So obviously we've got this one, the Cambrian kind of...
I ain't got mine on.
Paul's not representing today. He's got it on his hoodie, so it's okay. But we're thinking of doing mugs and maybe some water bottles and things like that. So let us know in the comments if you'd like us to make those available free. No, they can't be free. They cost us money. They can't be free. We might do some giveaways though as prizes in the future, but no, we'll have to sell them. But let us know. So right, I suppose we should get into it unless you've got anything else to add now that you've finished your giggling.
Yep, that caught me a little bit unexpected, I have to say, Joel. So thank you very much for that. Yes, another special. They're all turning into special weeks at the moment, which is very nice. We always seem to get somebody on our news and update shows, hopefully be renamed soon. Yes, it's wonderful to have you all here and wonderful for your comments. Please let us know. Any questions that you have sort of throughout this episode, you can drop them into the comments and we can answer them as best we can. And today's episode is very much Canon orientated because Paul, we had sent to us. Yeah.
1 second, just so we don't get told off. Sarah has made space by tidying the shop ready for Falraven and Paramo and Buffalo, because we're going to start selling outdoor gear so that you can come into the shop. Especially people who like being outdoors with their cameras. And not only can you get excellent camera gear and things like that, you can also buy excellent outdoor gear from us. So that's going to be very exciting. So we'll let you know when it's in store and you can come over and have a look. So there we are. Sorry, Paul. That's brilliant. Carry on.
No, thank you very much for that, Joel. I was just saying how excited I am about having this wonderful camera in my hand, and I've had managed to have a little play with it. So I've currently got the the EOS R5 in my hand, and Joel is holding the EOS R6. And not only do we have the cameras, we have a Canon Guru with us, Raj, as well. So let's get Raj into the stream. Hello, Raj. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah.
Hello, Raj.
Hi. I feel like I should be like that, Guru. You know.
Yeah. You mean you're not going to float on the stream? Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, thank you very much for joining us today, Raj. It's wonderful to have you here. Obviously, if anyone's got any questions regarding, well, specifically the R5 and R6, we're going to go over some of the new features. We've done a little bit before on the
three bearded ones. At this rate, it's going to be a prerequisite to come on the show. You have to have a beard. We'll have to have a comedy stick-on one that everybody has to wear if they don't have a beard.
When you can print at home and just stick on your face.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, dear me. Yes, so we're going to be. We've done some stuff with the. Well, we've talked about the R5 and R6 before, but we're starting to see them come through now, so it's wonderful to see them come through, and we've managed to have a little play with them, so we can give our thoughts and comments on them as well. But just in case we had any specialist questions coming through, the wonderful Raj is here to help us out with that as well. So and I think me and Joel have got a couple of questions as well, so that's always,
ask lots of difficult questions. Make sure he earns his money for this half an hour talk. He's getting paid double time because it's weekend, so make sure he's making his money's worth.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, appreciate it. Bring it on. Give me your worst.
Yeah.
So one thing that I found that was absolutely amazing to use was the new focusing system. I found it a real joy to use, and we've got some stuff for you guys to watch as we discuss a little bit more about the focusing system. So I'll just bring that up onto the screen as well, if all things are working. So. I mean, yeah, Raj, can you tell us a little bit more about how the focusing system works in these two models?
Sure. So it's an evolution of dual pixel AF. So it's dual pixel AF2 now. So dual pixel AF works differently to how any other focusing system for live view and mirrorless bodies works on the market. But essentially, every pixel is split into two photo sites. So you've kind of got a left and a right eye, which can measure distances. And because it's every pixel, you're not replacing pixels with phase detection points. There's no sort of computational stuff going on. And by having it like that, you have complete coverage, 100% of the frame, both vertically and horizontally. And it can track faces and differentiate, use some clever algorithms to differentiate faces, eyes, heads, dog faces, birds, cats. That's great. That's great. Yeah, so it just works so much better than what you can get out of a DSLR, because it's resolving an actual image rather than sort of a very low resolution bit of shape and color.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I found is that it really tied in nicely with the with the burst mode as well. So obviously I was using the R5, which I believe is 20 frames per second.
Yeah, they're both 20 frames per second if you're in the electro.
So yeah, and one thing I found, I mean, my sort of little dog is incredibly quick, and I've always struggled to get a picture of him, and just as we saw in the video there, that the 20 frames per second helped, because I was able to catch sort of multiple movement there, and we saw one with his little flappy ears up in the air. But not only that, so sort of in the past with previous cameras, I've been going like, right, if I get one out of this absolutely bang in focus, then I'm going to be happy. But I mean, pretty much the first time I started shooting with it, it was So I, like called him away, got him to come back to me, and not only was it shooting at 20 frames per second, but every single one of them was absolutely in focus. It's stunning. And as you were saying with the face detection and eye detection, also working on animals, it wasn't like the snout that was in focus. It caught his face and then went into the eye, and it really just was sort of an amazing experience to play about with, really.
And that's it. Your test is a pretty spot-on test for this as well, because a subject moving directly towards the camera is the hardest thing for a camera to focus on. And black dog is, it's not an easy thing for a camera to focus on either. So, you really put it in. Well, the only thing you could have done to make it worse is do it at night. And I think, even then a black dog coming straight towards you is pretty much as hard as it gets. And if it coped with that, then I think it'll cope with most things.
Paul was really pushing the boundaries of autofocus technology.
It's not been, so I think all of those as well were because
look at this Paul.
No one gave me the heads up that you're both Sony shooters. This is not
we've both got A7 IIIs. It's funny you say that, David, because I was thinking when I was playing with it earlier, I was like, the skin tones look really nice on this, and the Sony isn't as good for skin tones, arguably straight out of camera. It feels quite nice in the hand. Obviously, there's the whole kind of learning where all the buttons are. I've shot Canon in the past. I've owned Canons previously, so it wasn't as difficult. But I can imagine. Well, the question I was going to ask Paul later, I'll ask it now. Would you shoot a wedding with one, Paul?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And I think that's a big test of whether you can get on with a camera or not. Is whether you'd do something that's pretty difficult with a new camera like that. And Paul, you've only had it for like less than half a day really to play with, so it's quite impressive that the camera's shown you its capabilities that quickly, and that you would happily go and shoot a wedding.
I think, I mean, one of the game changers for me with the Sony was, the face and eye detection, and I mean, it would probably need sort of more testing, but it's as good as the Sony, if not better. So Raj would probably say it's better.
I don't. I've not got any massive personal preference, except that what I found with these. So I shot a long time with the 5D Mark IV, and then switched over to the R, and the original R. And I was shooting weddings with both of those cameras. But what I found was that switching between the 5D Mark IV and the R was a little bit cumbersome in the sense that ergonomically they were quite different. So but with the R6 and the R5, I pick up one of those and I could shoot that alongside a 5D Mark IV as if it was exactly the same camera, because ergonomically everything's in the same place and it seems very familiar, and the controls are very similar. And in terms of the eye focusing thing, one thing I would prefer out of the R and then these is that it would eye autofocus even on the dance floor shots in weddings. So in near pitch black, it will just pick out the eyes as if it's daylight. And that, once you start using that, you suddenly think, how was I doing this with a DSLR before? It's kind of quite cool.
Yeah, it is mad. I think I've obviously got the R6, so it's not as powerful as the R5. But I was getting my son to run towards the camera, shots were in focus. I had my little baby in a jumperoo, and she was bouncing around like a lunatic, and it was keeping up with her. And I was reading that the sensor and processor is the same or very similar to the one in the 1DX Mark III. So it's quite impressive that you're getting something that was like the flagship of Canon, or still is, in terms of their DSLR market, and you can buy it in a camera that's what is it? Just about $2,000, isn't it? Depending on if you get it in kit form or not. That's pretty mega that you're getting that much processing power, that much autofocus capability in a camera like that. So
absolutely, I mean, it is essentially the 1DX3 in it. And actually, when you're talking about not as powerful as the R5, effectively it is in in stills for still shooting, other than the resolution, you're getting the same frame rates, better low light performance than the R5, and better low light focusing as well. But it is effectively a 1DX3 with a little bit more of the sort of newer technologies that mirrorless can offer.
Somebody asked David Metcalf asked what's the difference between the R5 and the R6. Now would probably be a pretty good time just to pick up on some of those differences. You've obviously said that the sensors are different. The R5's got 47 point something megapixels, and the R6 is at 20, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's 45 and 20, 20.1 megapixels in the R6. So yeah, effectively the R6 is the R5 but with a lower resolution sensor. The only physical difference between the two is that the R5 has a little LCD on the top, just there. I don't know if it's going to focus there, that one.
Yeah.
Where the R6 doesn't have that. Weather sealing's very similar. So actually the R5 is slightly better weather sealed than the R6. The R5 is sort of the do everything incredibly well and do a lot of stuff you're not going to do, like just throw everything at it, the kind of camera. Whereas the R6, I think, is somewhat overlooked. And actually you're getting an incredibly good low light camera. The video spec is still pretty impressive considering what the R was. It's full sensor readout, 4K video, 120 frames a second, 1080p. You're getting a lot in the camera. Yeah. And they sort of both share the same platforms. They're very, very similar, and they share the same battery grip, and which is sort of that's quite rare for a Canon to share a battery grip with any secondary body. So they are very similar cameras in that sense. It's mostly down to resolution and processor. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Paul and I were laughing because he made himself really big, and you and I were really small, and he wasn't the one talking, and he just pulled a funny face. So, I think I've not seen the R5 up close yet because obviously I wasn't allowed to go into a shop. But I'm interested to see the difference in terms of holding it. But I'm going to play with it more over the weekend. Okay, so there's not much difference.
Yeah, physically you really can't tell.
I think it's going to suit people who are used to DSLRs and maybe didn't want to go to mirrorless because they felt too small. Because whilst they're not massive, they still feel pretty chunky and robust. It feels like you're picking up a 6D. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel quite as big as a 5D Mark IV or something like that, but feels quite 6D-ish. Obviously not quite as tall.
Yeah. I'd say exactly right. In terms of weight and shape, it feels like a 6D, but they feel a little bit more solid, if you like. More.
Sure. The build quality is definitely there, and the dials feel nice. And my son managed to figure out how to change the dials and things like that. He loved the camera, to be honest. He said, Daddy, I keep this. I'm like, I don't think you can afford this, sunshine. But he managed to, 3 years old.
Amazing.
And he managed to find the play button and was pressing play and spinning the little dial to flick through his pictures. And I'd taken some pictures of him and he was like, "Ooh, it's me." So he thinks it's a great camera. And he was taking pictures himself actually. So he managed to figure it out.
People say Canon's user interface is the easiest to use.
Yeah. Even a 3-year-old.
Even a 3-year-old can do it. I mean, that's one of the other features that I liked about about it as well, because sort of the main menu system is very much sort of like what we've seen on previous models, but the obviously the external, so things like the Q menu. So just to go into that a little bit, so what most cameras have on the market now is the main menu, and then an area where you can sort of quickly change sort of most popular settings, and these are called Q menus or I menus. And on the Canon, you've got a little sort of Q on the back here, face detection, go away. And essentially, you can get into the Q menu, and this is really easy to use. You've got your features there ready to use, and obviously working it alongside the touchscreen as well, so you can just tap on the things that you want to change and just very quickly change them. Another feature that I found quite handy was, I think this is more on the lenses, but obviously it works well, is that you've kind of got 4 function wheels to change. So
yeah, I was going to say that.
You've got one here. There's one on the front just here. Then you've got where I think it's always the best, sort of Canon have always put them here, which is the wheel on the back as well, which is lovely. But you've also got a 4th one on the front of on the front of some of the lenses as well, which is lovely. So depending,
and you can buy an adapter with that as well, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can. Yeah, one of the adapter types is a controlling adapter, and for video guys, you can actually have those declicked as well. So you can set it to service center and have it so it's silent wheel. But well, obviously with having 3 dials on the camera, the lens ring always used to be only exposure related, but obviously if you're going to have that on the other 3, you don't necessarily need that to be exposure related. So on the customization on this camera has kind of gotten so ridiculously big now, you can customize everything, but that is also now not just exposure related. You can have all sorts of other things on that wheel, which is quite helpful.
Whatever you want, really.
Yeah. The only thing that I think I was trying to get used to was all the different dials, but fortunately the interface kind of gives you a shape to kind of remind you as to what dial does what for you, which is quite useful. There's just look at these comments quickly. Mel says, "Hi guys, what do I do now? Sony R4 or Canon?" Oh, that's quite a big question. It depends on it depends on lenses a lot. The problem with the R4 is it's 61 point whatever megapixels. That's a lot for a lens to resolve. So you're going to have to think about what lenses you can actually use with that kind of resolution. Low light performance is likely to be affected when you've crammed that many pixels onto a sensor, whether it's full frame or not. And the thing is, I think, and I know that Raj has said Canon, but to be honest, you're going to have to pick it up and have a play, because I think you should choose a camera based on how it feels and makes you feel to use it, not just whether the settings, like whether it's got the best sensor or whatever. I think you're going to have to come in and have a look, Mel. Eric is tempted by it. That's interesting. She's got Fuji at the moment.
The nose thing, yeah. So, so just to explain a little bit. So this is a feature that, it's you can turn off some of the screen on the back, so you're not touching it with your nose. So this was actually present on the previous R system as well. So basically, if you like sort of me and Erica, and sort of you touch the screen with your nose.
So your autofocus points moving around like this with your nose.
Essentially, yeah.
So that's with the touch and drag, where you have it up to your eye and you use the thumb on your touch screen to move the focus point, right? But with this, because you've got that new joystick, unless you're a really big fan of that thing, you don't necessarily need that activated anyway.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's always been. I always struggled with that feature because I've got a massive nose.
Yeah, Tina's asking, do you have to have special lenses, or you can use the Canon D6 lenses? So you can actually use EOS, EF lenses, or RF, which is the new mount system for Canon. So Raj can let us know why RF is different to EOS or EF.
Sure. But just to clarify, there's absolutely no downside to using your existing EF lenses on this system with the adapter. The adapter's weather sealed, and there's no drop off in quality or light performance at all. In fact, it actually focuses more accurately and faster on the mirrorless bodies. That's not just true of this one, but of all the mirrorless bodies of ours. So there's no downside to using your existing lenses. You don't have to suddenly drop all of them just to buy into the system. It all works great. But that being said, the RF lenses are pretty awesome. Because of this new lens mount and this new flange distance, I love that word. The engineers at Canon are able to design lenses that just work better. So for like the 24 to 70 2.8 EF to RF, the RF is so much better. The 24-105, the RF one's the only one I wholeheartedly recommend. I always didn't like the EF ones all that much because the 24-70s were that much better. But that one is so good. 7200 2.8 is the only small compact 7200 2.8, and it's faster than the EF one. So like for like, they're just able to do better. And then they've got designs that have never been possible before, like the 28 to 70 f2. And some cool stuff that's coming, I'm sure. They keep hinting about these bizarre lens designs that are possible. So I'm sure we'll see some really niche stuff come up.
Are you going to do a 0.95 like Nikon did?
I'd love to see it, but I don't think so. The 1.2s are practical as well as ridiculous.
Yeah, but sometimes you've got to flex, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I had to play with that. It's pretty stonkingly good. It's quite fun.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's good. Hopefully that answers your question, Tina. And Anne's right that you can have an adapter for your EF stuff. So, and Mel, you can use your Sigma lenses on Canon, no problem. That'll be fine, especially because Sigma are very good at updating lenses. So they'll probably have firmware updates with the R5 and the R6 to get even more performance out of it. Just
before we move on from adapters, I've forgotten what I was going to say. Never mind.
Okay. Well, let me know.
Welcome to my world, Raj.
And we'll get some demo days sorted out. We're just trying to figure out the logistics of the health and safety of workshops. Go, Raj, go before you forget.
Before I forget, sorry, on the adapters thing, on the R and previous ones, the adapter came in the box. It doesn't on these, just so you're aware. However, there is an offer where if you sign up to CPS, Canon Professional Services, which is entirely free and quite a cool service when we're not in COVID times, they will do a redemption thing. So if you sign up to CPS first, buy your camera, and then they'll give you one for free.
Oh, awesome.
Brilliant. There we go.
Happy days. So yes, Sarah, cars or bikes at Trackmorn in Anglesey would be great. Or Gary Jones with Bird of Prey. Yeah, we'll have to speak to John. John's the man who can. So we'll speak to him. This is a question for you, Raj.
Oh, yeah.
Why have Canon never implemented the iFocus system of the last film cameras, EOS 30, on a digital camera? It would select the focus point depending where your eye looked in the viewfinder. Technology gone backwards. That's an interesting one. Come on, Raj, tell us. And then David will infamously tell you you're wrong. Because he tells me and Paul we're wrong all the time.
I would, Canon work on feedback, and I would suggest that this stuff comes in from top end down. So if it was in the top end cameras back then, and it wasn't fed back well from pro guys like the agency photographers and press guys and sports photographers, then it doesn't end up in future cameras. That's primarily how Canon work for stuff like this. So that would be the best answer I could give you. It was a cool feature. I just don't know how accurate that would be. And also, if you're imagining looking through a viewfinder and you're focusing on a point over there, waiting for a subject to come in, and then you look at the subject come in, then you're going to move the focusing point and throw it all off. So I don't know whether that was part of it, but hey.
Yeah, I could never actually get it to work anyway. So I think wherever I looked, it just never did it for me anyway. So, but that's going back a bit. But good question, David. I like that one.
Yeah, that's the sort of questions we want. Get Raj to flex his knowledge and his ability to work out what the good answer will be before he's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Test my political abilities. And
diplomacy. You weren't showing much of that earlier, were you? Okay, so the R5 and the R6. Oh, yeah, go on, Paul.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just before we start rounding up, I mean, it'd be very naughty of us not to mention some of the video stuff. I know a lot of our viewers are very sort of photography orientated, but we do have hopefully a couple of you that are still interested in the video side of things, and that's really where the R5 kicks in into the game.
8K monster.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all of that processing power comes the ability to shoot some stuff that's never been done before. And for a first in any mirrorless body, I believe, 8K RAW is possible on the R5. And it has some interesting implications for stills photographers as well, because you could feasibly shoot 8K RAW video and pull out a TIFF for still, an 8K, an 8K resolution still. Obviously, it would be 16:9 format, possibly, or actually slightly different. If it's DCI, I can't remember. But I think it's about a 32, 34 megapixel still that you get from that. So that's quite interesting. You don't have to shoot in RAW though. So the 8K thing can be shot. Just for why you'd want to shoot 8K. No one's viewing stuff in 8K, right? No one actually has an 8K TV. The reason you do that and the reason people want it is because you oversample, and then you downsize the thing that you want, and you get a much better quality. The other side of it is you could feasibly shoot a large wide scene at 8K and then crop in and get multiple different shots out of a single take at 1080 or 4K. And then you use different parts of that, cut into different parts of that. So if you're doing interviews with multiple people, you can sort of do close-up shots of each of them as they speak or whatever. Yeah. So it offers a lot of possibilities for editing.
You can do panning without having to take sliding shot without taking a slider with you. Also, interestingly, what's the image stabilization like? Given that they've brought out, 8 stops? When the lens and the body work together, that's pretty crazy.
Well, it's not even just when the lens and body work together. Some lenses that don't have image stabilization. So there's a internal presentation that we had when this all came out, and it's independently tested, and they CEPA test, isn't it, that they use. The 8 stops is on some of the lenses that don't have image stabilization in the lenses, which is just bonkers. Crazy. So like the 2870 f2 gets 8 stops of IS. The 85 1.2 gets 8 stops of IS. Oh, actually, 2870, I'm not sure. I can't remember.
You don't need a gimbal.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I've been having to play with these, and suddenly really don't actually need to take the gimbal everywhere, which is a nice thing to not have to try. And the other thing is you can shoot really low, really slow shutter speed stills. I've seen one of the sample images I think I might have sent to you is actually, I think it's a 4-second handheld exposure.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which is bonkers. I've tried. I couldn't do that long, but I got about to a second before anything after that. I couldn't get any. But you could feasibly do, is this the sort of silky water stuff that a waterfall with all handheld now.
Yeah.
So it'd be great for landscape photography there, Erica.
Yeah. Well, I had a quick go this morning. I mean, it wasn't a very spectacular image, and that's why I didn't drop it in. But I managed to get a second exposure sort of handheld. I would say no problem. I was probably, I can check, but I think I was at 35 mil.
Still pretty impressive.
Yeah. And it was like after 10 minutes walking, so it's not like I was sitting in my house, like nice and sort of
chill,
guru'd out. So yeah, and it just does work. I mean, it's it's not as impressive as the Olympus. I will say that, but I think obviously it's just generally because of the moving around the bigger sensor, essentially more than anything.
Yeah,
but I mean,
it does make it difficult for a camera with a sensor that big and at 40 plus megapixels to achieve an image a second or more, and it be sharp across the frame. That's very, very impressive for an image stabilization.
It really is. It really is.
Because that's one of the big concerns with super high resolution sensors is that pixel blur and that motion blur becomes so much more accentuated. And ordinarily, all three of us will be saying the same to people: is that you have to sort of be more considerate of your shutter speed and have to up that so much. But it just suddenly goes out the window, all of that, doesn't it? You just do whatever you want, get away with it.
And then another thing on the video, obviously some people have seen it struggles recording longer, but I think we were chatting yesterday about the fact that there's been a firmware upgrade that helps reduce that.
Yes, there has been a firmware update. I don't think it necessarily officially says that it's going to solve the overheating thing, but it does a little bit. Done. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people that have been testing it, I've seen a lot of the reviews out there. They, since the firmware update has come out, the recording times have gone up quite a lot. Obviously, conditions will vary depending on how you shoot, but also realistically, if you're shooting 8K RAW for that long in one,
it's massive.
It's so much data.
You probably don't need to be having an R5 if you're shooting 8K for that long. You probably need a actually built a video camera system, like a C system camera. Yeah.
And it's one thing to mention that was on the R5 is that there is a new card format. So of the two card slots, there's two card slots. One is a new card format to deal with that amount of data getting written to it. So you can't put 8K RAW into an SD card slot. It just can't.
No, that's like found on.
So we have a CF Express. That's right, isn't it? CF Express. And to that card that you're writing the data. Prices of CF Express cards will come down because a lot of brands are starting to use that format. So at the moment, they're quite expensive. I mean, it's a bit scary.
Yeah, they're quite eye-watering. when you think how much, the equivalency you could probably get almost a 512 or a terabyte SD card for the same price as a 64 or 128 gig CF Express card. It's madness. but SD cards used to be really expensive back in the day, and now they're super cheap. So.
And I will say as well, if you were looking at the sort of DSLR side of things, like 5D Mark IV, where it's using a compact flash, we've actually seen them go up now as well. So you're going to be, for your second card slot is you want to put a good one in it anyway. And with CF Express is you're just not paying more for nothing. You're getting the super fast speed. And also, it's going to help when you transfer your images onto your computer as well. So you're not going to be waiting as long. So there's benefits
for
all around.
Ultra high frame rate as well for taking pictures. So there's all sorts of benefits. Unless people have any more questions in the comments, I'm just wondering if there's anything, Raj, that you don't think we've touched on that you think actually the R5 or the R6 are stand out for this, or even just something small that you thought when you got hold of the R5 or R6 and went, hang on a second, that's a really good feature that I've not seen in cameras previously, either Canon or other brands.
I mean, I'm a bit of a nerd, so I pick out on the really sad little things that just make life a little bit easier. But there are...
The MTF charts.
MTF charts, indeed.
Codecs and how many bits it'll take.
It's little things like there's one little thing that the shutter comes down to protect the sensor which you just don't get on any other brand. Or I think only one other brand does that now, to protect the sensor when the camera's off. So
I do really like that feature.
Yeah, longevity of this camera as well. So the shutter mechanism is rated to over 400,000 actuations, which is more than 1DX series. And there's a few little changes that make life easier coming from an SLR. So like image review doesn't come up in the viewfinder anymore by default. You can set it to, but in the R, you take a picture, and if image review is on, it would come up in the viewfinder once you stop holding the shutter button. So it gets in the way of what you're looking at. Whereas on this, it doesn't do that by default. And if you're a hybrid shooter as well, so every time you put this on a gimbal, and you had this problem earlier when you were trying to show your screen, and the sensor was making the screen go off. If you had it like that, the sensor doesn't make the screen go off. So
right,
because
see, that's smart.
If you're a video guy, you'd likely have the screen out like that, right? Because you kind of want to angle it. So it's small little things like that that have added up to make this camera so much more usable. So that's what I pick out on is little changes like that. I mean, there's plenty of big changes, like the R5 has 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi as well, so you can transfer images over the network super quick.
Right, one last question from Mel, and then I'll catch up with prices and the Shimoda stuff. So Mel's saying, any shutter blackout with the Canon?
So, Paul and Joel, you have actual shooting samples. Mine's not a shooting sample, so you better have a...
1 second.
No, it's fine. Mine's faster than yours, Joel.
Shit. I've got it on slow. 1 second. That's not fair. I'm going to fight for the little dude. 1 second. There we go. Oh, high plus. Oof. Ready?
Such a cool sound. I don't know whether the cameras are picking that up, but
just
you hear that? Oof. That's amazing. No blackout on that one. Yeah. Nope. It's very good. It's very good. And that's on the R6 as well. So the R5 will be even better. Right, now, quickly, scores on the doors. The R6 body only 4199, and the R5. The R6 body only is 2499. Just to answer your question, Erica. Tar very much. Are they both machine guns? Yes, they are. They are very good. They're pretty monstrous, to be fair. But yeah, you need to pop in and have a look now. Now, Sarah said a reminder for Joel above. So we have the Shimoda X50s, the actions in stock in black. I think we're probably the only dealer in the country that's got them. So if you want one, be quick. Right, there we are. Now,
that's brilliant.
Thank you very much, Raj. That was fantastic. It was a joy to have you on, Guru.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and please put your comments. Please let us know how much you enjoyed Raj in this today's live into the comments as well. So put your thank yous in that, and that's lovely. Raj, we're just going to put you back into the
corner.
Just into part that,
please say nice things. I want to keep my job.
Yeah, be now.
We'll speak to you when the stream's finished.
Okay, brilliant. Nice to see you guys.
Cheers, that's brilliant, and wonderful having Raj here, wasn't it, Joel?
Yeah,
and live as well. So it's really nice doing it. Really nice doing it live. So because he's dedicated to come here on time, which
is. It's always nice when people take time out of their weekend to come and speak to us. Two bearded chaps. So,
any final thoughts to this weekend, Joel?
I can't think of any, except I hope you enjoy the longer weekend, the bank holiday weekend. Stay safe.
Bank holiday weekends.
Keep your distance. And I think,
you have to.
It's true. I'm definitely making a T-shirt that says minimum focus distance 2 meters. I think that would look good. No, just have a great weekend, everybody. Good to see you as always. Don't forget to put in the comments any suggestions for what we could change the name of Cambrian News and Updates dates too. I'm doing what Paul does and put my teeth back in. Because from the first, so next week, all being well, we'll have a different name.
Yeah.
As long as we can come up with a better name. So we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, have a great weekend. It's good to see you all.
Thank you very much for that, Joel. Yes, brilliant all having you here. Loads of comments again, so it's lovely to see your comments. If you're watching this video, please make sure that you like and share this video. Also, please subscribe to our Facebook and YouTube channels and hit the reminder so you get notifications on next time we go live. Everyone have a very good weekend and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.
Cheers. Bye.